4/4, the quarter note would get 1 beat, and so forth. Okay, now on to another interesting situation here. Don't know how clear all of this is because I'm just trying to shoot it on my phone, but more on durational symbols. Can you see this up here at the top of page 33? I don't know, I'm looking in the camera. Yeah, I guess you can. More on durational symbols. All right, here is a measure of 3/4. We're kind of moving on to a new topic now, but it's still part of rhythm. Here's a measure of 3/4, and it's correct in its math. In other words, we have 2 beats here, and if you combine these 2 eighth notes, we have 3 beats. He says this is incorrect, however, in the way it appears visually. This will be a very difficult rhythm to clap and to know where to put that 3rd eighth note. Okay? It would be much better to notate it like this column here on the right, where it says correct. I don't know if you can see that or not, but here he has made it very clear where each of the beats are. Here's beat 1, here's beat 2, here's beat 3, and I know that I am to clap on the and of 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, that was hard to get from this first example. It's very hard to know exactly where to put that eighth note in there. And you may say to yourself, well, when I write music, I can notate it however I want. I'm the boss. Well, you are the boss, but the goal in arranging and composing is writing for singability or playability. And I would argue that this second rhythm is much more playable than the first one, even though they're identical rhythms. It's the way they lay that makes them more playable. So if I gave you a rhythm like this, I might say, do your best to correct that rhythm so that the meter is not obscured. See over here? He doesn't want us to obscure the rhythm. We want to notate it in a way that it's very clear. Maybe you can see that here. This is a measure of simple triple time. Okay, we know it's simple because 2s, 3s, and 4s are simple signatures. But it appears to be compound duple by the way it's laid out here. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I'd think we were in a measure of 6/8. Well, we're not. That's not the time signature, and that's not the way that 3/8 should be notated. This across the aisle here on the correct side, now you can clearly see beats 1, 2, and 3 in the 3/8 time signature. It was obscured here, even though if you type this into Finale this way and you beam them together, in 3s, it would perform all 6 of them evenly, and it would perform all 6 evenly here. However, if you give this to an ensemble, they're going to lay stress on that beat and on that beat. Da, 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 da. It's not going to feel like simple triple. Simple triple should feel like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you don't get that feeling of the meter the way it's notated over here. So I might say, all right, take this measure of simple triple and re-notate it so that the beat is not obscured. These get a little bit more tricky. Here's the next one, 12/16. Let's just talk about what we know about 12/16. We know that 6s, 9s, and 12s are compound signatures. All right, so that 12 tells us it's compound quadruple. All right. Now, compound quadruple, we should be looking for 4 groups like this. 4 groups of 16th notes. Ta 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 ta. I don't get that feeling here. I see a quarter note here. I see 4 16th notes here. When I kind of look at this and this, I think, am I looking at a bar of 4/4 time? I don't see 4 tuplets in here, 4 groups of 3. So this is not laying like a typical bar in 12/16. It does not look like compound quadruple time. Now, it does take a bit of ingenuity and a bit of re-engineering to re-notate this into so you get the feeling of compound quadruple. But here, I get a feeling of beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. So you got 3/16 notes in a dotted eighth. Ta ta ta. 2 more here. Ta 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 ta. So I can see where all 12 of them lie this way. I'm not going to tell you this would be a simple rhythm to perform with the band or the orchestra or a choir or whatever. This is most surely a more complicated rhythm. But it's notated on this side of the aisle, at least in compliance with the compound quadruple feel of things, whereas over here you don't get that sensation at all. The final example may be equally as challenging. It's 4/2. Well, we know that 2s, 3s, and 4s as top numbers are simple signatures. And we know that 2 is the beat, because in simple signatures, the bottom number tells us the beat. So we're actually looking for this kind of feel. We're looking for 4 half notes in this particular song or a particular measure or derivatives thereof. I see 1 out here. I don't see any other sense of simple quadruple here. This is really weird the way he has it notated here. He's re-notated over here in a way that I can see beat 1 here. I can see beat 4 here. Well, these 4 combine to make another half note. So there's beat 2. Da, ya, da, 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 da. So here's beat 3. 1, 2, and a 3, and 4. I do get a sense of simple quadruple here. Remember, simple because it's a 2, 3, or a 4 as the top number, and quadruple because we have 4 beats in the measure, and they are half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I like what he's done. That's not to say this would be the only solution here. Oh, by the way, you can't change the rhythm when you re-notate things. In other words, you can change and tie things together. Okay, because like here, he's got a half note plus an eighth note worth of time. And you can see what he's done here. A half note plus an eighth note worth of time. Even though he's notated it with some different note values here, the time is still the same. So when we play this little game, you can't write a different rhythm over here. This is the same rhythm. It's notated with different note values over here. So my point was earlier, if Finale played this rhythm as it's written, and then came over here and played this rhythm, Finale would play it exactly the same way. But if you gave this one to a performing group, they would have a better chance of success over here. Okay, so that's the idea there. Let's see. In self-test 2.5, if you were sitting here in class, I would ask you to complete that because this one now, I'm having trouble. This one is the mixture of simple signatures and compound signatures. Simple times and compound times. I can tell a few things just by kind of flying over at 10,000 feet. I'm not going to go ahead and fill this one in for you. I think you ought to do this one on your own in preparation for the quiz. But remember, when you see the word compound, you automatically know a few things. You know the divisions are going to be 3 of something, okay? And you automatically know when you see the word compound, we're either going to have a 6 or a 9 or a 12 as our top number. Okay, those are a few things we know. A couple other things we know is if we see a 2, a 3, or a 4 as our top number, we have to be talking about a simple signature. Okay, so here's a 2 as a top number. Here's a 4 as a top number. Here's a 3 as a top number. Okay, so those have to be simple signatures. And we know that in simple signatures, the beats divide into 2 of something. So here you have a division of 2. So your beat note's got to be whatever these two added together becomes the beat note in this signature. Okay? And the beat note in simple signatures becomes the bottom number. So here we have a 4. We see a bottom number here. It's a simple signature that he happens to give us the bottom number. We know that the beat note becomes the bottom number. So this has got to be a quarter note over here in the beat note of number 1 because we have a 4 on the bottom. So it may look a little bit perplexing at first, but if you just take what you know about the 2 signatures, I mean, if I could kind of summarize it, I would say simple. We're talking about 2s, 3s, and 4s as the top number. And we're talking about they divide into 2. The division is into 2s. And then the beat note becomes the bottom number. The beat note becomes the bottom number of the signature. Okay, so I know all of those things about simple signatures. With compound signatures, I'm out of room. I'll have to come up here. We're talking about 6s, 9s, and 12s as the top number. The beats divide into 3s, 3 of something, okay? And it is the division of the beat, which is the bottom number. So I think you got to have these 2 things really learned well. The facts about simple signatures and the facts about compound signatures. You got to be able to sort those out in order to answer this table. Okay, moving across the page, if we had time in our class hour, I would have you complete letter B up here at the top of 35. I assume you can see that. I'll slide it around here maybe if that helps. Yeah, here what you have is measures that are incomplete. You have to add rests to the end of the measure to give us a complete measure. Now our first measure here is in 2/4. So I'm looking for 2 quarter notes worth of time, 2 beats and their quarter notes. So I'm going to do a little math. I'm going to combine these 2 16ths. I know that makes 1/8. Here's another 1/8. All right, so I combine those 2 8s, and I know I have at least 1 quarter note so far in that bar. Then I have an 8th note and an 8th rest. Okay, so that 8th, or not 8th rest, an 8th note and a dot. Well, that dot is equal to a 16th, all right, worth of time. So I have an 8th and a 16th. Well, those don't combine to make a quarter note. I'm a 16th note short because that dot is only equal to a 16th. So I need one more 16th note, which then if I combine those 2, I get an 8th. If I bring the other 8th up, I have another 8th. I combine those 2 and I get a quarter. So there's 1 and 2. So my solution is to bring that 8th or the 16th note down and make a 16th note rest, which looks like that. It's got 2 flags to the side of it. That's how much time is missing from this example